The Austin American-Statesman has obtained video footage that allegedly the Uvalde County District Attorney did not want us to see. It is surveillance footage, body cam footage of the Robb Elementary School as the mass shooting was taking place on campus. And it shows what the police response was, okay? So it's a 77-minute long recording. We're gonna show you a few clips from it. You're not gonna see anything graphic in it, although you will hear some gunshots. I just wanted to give you that warning. And it just sheds more light on the incompetence and cowardice of the police who were there on the scene. I wanna start off by saying that the gunman actually started firing his weapon when he was outside of the school. And even though there were cops on the scene who could have stopped him at the time, no one fired their weapon at him. No one stopped him as he was entering the campus. Now, with that said, in the next video, you're going to hear the teacher call 911 as she sees the gunman entering the school. She's also urging the students to get to their classrooms for safety. Let's watch.
I can't see him. I cannot see him. The kids are running. Oh my God. Get in your room. Get in your room.
So as you watch that, I want you to remember there were already police officers on the scene. And based on what we've already learned through previous reports, they decided not to shoot at him. They decided to just stand by as he shot his weapon and ran into the school.
Yeah, so this story, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, got way worse. Because I remember we covered, I think it was last week, the story that there was a police sniper that had a shot at the gunman before he went into the high school, and he was looking for an order to shoot, right? And he didn't receive one, so he didn't shoot. But I thought at the time, to be fair to that guy, I mean, do you know for sure that the guy's a gunman? Do you know for sure that he's gonna go in and do something wrong? He hasn't shot anybody yet, right? So it makes sense to wait for a commanding officer to tell you to take him out. I get it, it sucks and it turned out to be a disaster, but I get it. No, it turns out the guy had started shooting into the school before he went in. And they had the shot and they didn't take it.
They didn't take it.
I mean, my God, how many times have we shown you cops killing, let's be honest, mainly black guys, unarmed.
As they're running away.
As they're running away with no weapons. I mean, a million scenarios where they put, I mean, recently they just put 60 bullets in one guy. Turns out he didn't even have a weapon. There's a guy shooting into a school with kids and they don't take the shot. And then they sit around inside the school. We got more on that.
Yeah, that I have to say the video is so infuriating because you see them. There's a moment where one of them literally, like they're in the hallway. The gunman he's in the classroom, active shooter situation in the classroom. You see one of the cops like put hand sanitizer in his hand and like just casual, like they're so casual. You're gonna see more of it. So why don't we actually get to the first graphic here, because I want you to see, this is just a still frame from the surveillance footage that the Austin American-Statesman obtained. You see how heavily armed they are, right? Like that visual is everything. Like they're there, they're on the scene. They have their weapons pointed to the classroom, but they're not doing anything. They're scrambling for keys to open the classroom. They didn't even attempt to open the door. It was unlocked, as we've now learned. It's mind blowing. But with that said, I wanna go to the next clip because here you're gonna see, it's terrifying. The gunman has already entered the school. He's firing his weapon. And then a student who had been in the bathroom turns the corner and sees him. So let's keep our mics up. Let's take a look at this video. So there's the gunman, he's walking toward the classroom. And then you can see on the left-hand side, there's a young student who comes around the corner as the gunman walks down the hall. Gunman starts firing his weapon, student runs away. At this point, the gunman fires his AR-15 inside 2 classrooms for 2.5 minutes. Authorities say more than 100 rounds were fired. So again, it's not like there were no cops on the scene. There were cops on the scene. I don't know what the fate of that little boy was. I think he's okay, but imagine how terrifying that is to be a student dealing with that.
Yeah, this goes to knock down another excuse, which was they thought it was a barricade situation, kind of like a hostage situation. That's where you're supposed to take your time and talk the guy out of it because you don't want him to shoot the hostages. But as it turns out, he's actively firing in the school and the cops are in the school. So if he's actively firing, you have to go in immediately. Because the point of a hostage situation is you don't want him to start firing. If you barrel in, he might start firing. But if he's already firing, you got nothing left to lose except, of course, your own safety. And that's what the heart of the problem is. And so look, guys, everybody will beat up the Uvalde cops and they deserve to be beat up rhetorically, right? But let's be honest, as we always tell you, it's in the police training. They tell them, and in this case, they might say, oh, look, no, wait, Cenk, there's different training for hostage situations and the active shooter situations. But the most important part of the training that they never talk about in the press is take care of your own safety before anyone else's safety. And that's why they didn't go in. There's no excuses left.
Yeah, and look, that training conflicts with what the active shooter training indicates they're supposed to do, right?
That's right, and they didn't do it.
Right, exactly. So you have the head of the Texas Public Safety Department saying, no, this is an active shooter situation. They should have went in immediately. But you're right in that, and we see this messaging and this training play out in real time when we cover every police brutality story, which is, what's the saying, Cenk? Better to be
judged by 12 than carried out by 6.
Exactly.
See, that to cops nationwide, that's the prime directive. That's why even in an active shooter with kids, and they hear and see him firing at the kids, they still don't go in because the prime directive is you're more important than any citizen.
Right.
Do not endanger yourself under any circumstances. And that is exactly what should be the opposite of what cops are trained to do. But instead, all across the country, and by the way, guys, this is not just Uvalde cops. Almost every department in Texas was involved by the end, because remember, it took like an hour and 15 minutes. And so the Texas Rangers were there, the state cops were there, everybody was there, and they all chose not to go in. Why? Prime directive, cops' lives are more important than citizens' lives. Do not ever take a risk of your safety to save a citizen, and that's disgusting.
So I want to go to one more clip. You're about to watch a video where the cops, I guess, attempted to enter a classroom where the shooter was, and here's how that went down. Still opening fire and killing students. And you have, again, not one, not two, but several, dozens of cops on the scene. They're in the hallway. They hear the gunman opening fire and they're not doing anything. In fact, the first time they try, they hear the gunshots and they run away from the classroom. So a few other details we learned based on the surveillance footage. So at 12:21, which is 45 minutes after police first arrived on the scene, 4 shots are heard from at least and at least a dozen officers move toward the classroom. That's the video that you just saw. An officer can be heard saying they're making entry, yet they do not. They did not enter the classroom. At 12:30, an officer wearing a helmet and a ballistic vest pauses to squirt hand sanitizer from a wall-mounted dispenser and rubs his hands together. Look, it could be a nervous tic, but it doesn't look good. especially in the full context of this situation where you have all these heavily armed cops there doing nothing. The imagery of one of them putting hand sanitizer casually in his hands and rubbing them together is infuriating, to say the least. At 12:50, a cadre of officers crouches outside the classroom. A burst of gunfire is heard and the video ends. Authorities have said a Border Patrol agent is the one who ended up killing the gunman. And I want to go to this final graphic that shows what the scene was like 77 minutes later. Officers finally breach the unlocked classroom and kill the gunman. 77 minutes later.
Okay, guys, you saw in the video shots fired at kids inside the school and the cops don't go in. They're inside the school and they don't go in. That's unacceptable under any definition. You'd have to be a monster to think that was acceptable. Now let me tell you who they are. Those monsters who did think it was acceptable. The Uvalde Police Department, the Uvalde County Sheriff's Department, the Texas Department of Public Safety, these are all the cops that were on the scene. Texas Rangers, US Border Patrol, and US Marshal Services. I'll let the Border Patrol off because they're the guys who actually went in at the end and got him, okay? Everyone else, they all stood there. All of their commanding officers told them, prime directive, who gives a damn about the kids? Save yourself. Don't harm don't take any risk with your health or safety or your clean hands.
To be fair, they were willing to do something, which was handcuffed parents who were demanding that they do something about the active shooter.
And if you're wondering, wait, why don't we already have an exact account of what happened? There's all those cops there. They all know what happened, right? The reason we don't have a good account of it and it's leaking out little by little and not from the authorities is because they all want to cover their ass.
Yeah.
So, and that's almost all the cops in Texas.
Including the DA who didn't want that video to be released.
Of course, so all the cops are saying, no. We don't want you to find out what actually happened. And they're centering on a scapegoat, and it looks like it's the police chief in Uvalde. It's not to say that he didn't do something wrong, but I'll tell you ahead of time what's gonna happen is everybody's gonna say, it was him, not us. Because in situations like this, they need a scapegoat. Otherwise, people find out what the reality is, which is that cops are trained to be cowards and to protect themselves and not you.